Hey toy collectors, welcome to another super exciting, outrageous toy review. Today we're taking a look at the Target exclusive Special Mission Cobra Island G.I. Joe Classifieds Cobra Viper. Boy, that was a long name. Special thanks to my buddy Nick, who was able to score this for me actually a while ago, and I left it in his truck and didn't have it to review, and then it just kind of got lost in the shuffle. So I know this isn't a new review. I also know that this figure is worth too much to open, but I'm going to open him anyway. The back of his package has a map of Cobra Island on it. Here we've got the Viper out of the package, and he looks pretty good. Like all of the characters in this line, they've kind of updated and over-detailed the figures a little bit. And I think it hurts the Viper. He's cool, don't get me wrong, but he still is not as cool as the original figure. And that's crazy. He should be as cool or cooler. Just sculpt exactly what was there. But some of the little changes they did, I don't think improved him. Would I army build these guys if they were available? Oh, heck yes. And hopefully, Hasbro will release these guys with a slightly different paint job or whatever they decide to do at a mass retail type non-exclusive setting. It would be great to army build these guys, and if you have one of these Cobra Island guys, you could make him be your Viper officer. Sure, sounds good to me. I'm going to start with his helmet, and I'm going to give you my first pet peeve. I hated this with the 25th anniversary figure as well. Why did they give him removable goggles? He does not have a head that you can put these on, where he could wear them, which I know is silly, but it's part of the Viper design. I think it might just be because it saves him a paint app, but I would rather these be molded on. I don't want the goggles flopping around and falling off my guys all the time. They don't click in any way. There's no way to actually hold them on there. And they just sort of slowly float up and look weird. So I don't like that. They also kind of changed the shape of the helmet a little bit, having these pieces protrude in much further. It's not terrible, but I don't think that you should mess with a winner when you've got one. So I'm not wild about that. But overall, the helmet's fine. This scarf thing, get rid of this. I don't need it. I really dislike that. The tactical vest looks great. Love how it's got a Cobra symbol. It's got the red grenades. It's got some other little details in there, which look good as an update. This time around, he's got his sleeves rolled down. I'm okay with that, although I think the little pop of flesh color kind of breaks up the blue a little bit, which looks nice on the vintage figure. Maybe they didn't want the paint app, so they decided to go with long sleeves. These elbow pads are not as cool as the gauntlets on the original Viper. I'm glad they're there. It's the best they could do, I guess, for trying to match that feature. And they're not bad, but something about them isn't quite right, and they tend to be rotated in a way where they look weird. And I guess that's one of those advantages of the old style articulation, where, you know, with less articulation, things didn't rotate into weird positions sometimes as you're playing with them. He's got a gun. It's not as cool as the original Viper gun. I hate to keep saying that, but I love the original Viper. So this gun's pretty decent, although it looks like a Stormtrooper blaster to me. I know that these are kind of real world, but I don't like this style handle for action figures. It's really hard to get that in their hands. I kind of wish they would just leave this piece out. Kind of like how in the vintage line, shotguns would have handles, even though shotguns don't have a handle. It makes it easier to play and pose, and so sometimes I kind of wish they would work with that a little bit more. His vest is actually attached to his belt, so that's really going to hinder articulation in the waist, but the belt with the pouches on it does look nice. As we move down his legs, he's got red padding on the outside, but red padding on the inside of his thighs. That really bugs me. I think that looks really weird. It makes me think that his legs should be like that. But that's backwards, right? So I don't know why they chose to do that, but I think that's weird looking. He does have a holster here, and that holster's a nice looking pistol, and I love the fact that there's working holsters on these guys. As we move down, he's got tall boots with knee pads, and I really like those. I think they look spectacular. So the Viper has articulation at the head. Of course, his goggles want to fall off every time you move his head. But his head can move side to side, up and down, and that's great. His shoulders have ratchet joints in them. They move all the way around. There is a bicep cut, double jointed elbows. There is a swivel in the arm here with the pad, but I believe that's actually over his arm. It's not really, it's an armor piece, so that's not really articulation. His wrists can swivel and hinge. The pad on those gauntlets can get in the way some with that when you try and position his wrists in different ways. His chest has articulation in it, but again, that's totally hampered by his vest. His hips can move out to the side, forward, and backwards, and they move pretty easily even though those pouches are there, and that's great news. As we move down lower, he's got double jointed knees. That works really great with the knee pad. As a kid, I always imagined these knee pads were part of the boot. Bending his knee really far breaks that illusion, but it still works okay. And then he's got a boot cut articulation and rockers at the ankles. It's really good. I really like the style of articulation they do on these guys. The quality of sculpt detail is really good. And even the paint apps are nice. I just am not always wowed with some of the designs as they try to like future up these guys and make them more collector friendly. I just really want them to be like awesome big versions of the old toys. And maybe Masters Universe Classics spoiled me getting figures like that so much, because these are kind of new designs for the characters. The last accessory the Viper comes with that I hadn't talked about so far is his backpack. That just pegs in a hole in his back. It's somewhat hollow, but fairly heavy. It's black, it's got some gray details, the Cobra logo, some more grenades, a little piece of rope here, and a bunch of pouches. It looks pretty good. There is a little paint flub on mine, which is kind of a shame, but it is what it is. So my Cobra army seems small still. I never got the exclusive Cobra Trooper. The new Cobra Troopers haven't come in, so I have a couple repaints of Cobra Commander. I have a version of Storm Shadow in a Joe uniform, and I've got this Viper. So I hope this line keeps going. We still have Lady J and Flint to come in, Zartan, and the new Cobra Trooper, a few other characters. I really hope we hear announcements of more characters soon, because I would really like to see this line keep going. And I know that's funny to come from somebody that's nitpicking it, but I'm only nitpicking it because I love G.I. Joe so much, and I really wish that line was a little bit closer to the vintage figures. We'll see what happens as it continues. I feel like they're still, finding their footing on what makes the right Joe classified figure. In the comments down below, let me know what you think of this Viper, and were you able to get your hands on one or more of them? Thanks for watching this super exciting, outrageous toy review. Make sure to like, subscribe, and check out my other videos.